What's up, guys? This is Rick, and you are watching The Pumpkin Patch. So, the only thing that I can really say to explain this album without giving it away right away is whoa. And I'm going to say that in every fucking possible way of the phrase as a horror punk and as this being a horror punk album. Um, Before I get started, I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger for a second. I'm going to just go through real fast. For those of you who don't know, the Writhers pre-orders unfortunately have been delayed, but the CDs have finally been ordered, and we should be receiving them next week, and we'll send them out hopefully the week of the 10th. We're going to be going on a mini tour, as I said in the last video, and so we'll have CDs for that, and right after we get back, they will be sent out. For those of you who would be interested, I have made some Writers pins, which are pretty sweet. I will, sorry, I was looking to see if they were over there. I will hopefully have a link soon to post about that, so stay tuned. With that being said, let's fucking get into it. So, I've been lucky enough to have been asked by Marco from the Horrorscopes to review their latest album, Beware of the Moon, before its release date. And it is the day before Halloween, and it is releasing tomorrow in true horror punk fashion. So, without further ado, it's fucking phenomenal. Just going through the list, the first track is a straight up horror movie theme. It's called The Return of the Flying Pumpkin. I can totally imagine, like one of those intros to a horror movie where this is playing in the background and you have like reverse blood splatter going back up into like a pumpkin's eyes, and the wings come out at the end or some cool shit like that. It's just very well done, very well crafted, and it legitimately, because the whole vibe of this album is supposed to be an 80s movie, or at least the artwork is, rather, and this sort of hits the nail on the head to drive that idea, and it's very well done. That goes directly into the first single off the album, Slasherism. Starts out with a long drum fill intro to kick off some sort of like early AFI sounding fast punk riff. It actually really reminds me of I think it's Cruise Control off of Very Proud of You. The riff in the very main verses kind of reminds me of that riff. This song definitely sets the tone. A lot of woes. Very layered. Lyrically, it touches on Michael Myers. It touches on Jason. It has like this woe-laden chorus with some double pedal on the drums, which is really cool. A lot of punk bands in general don't do that typically, and a lot of horror punks bands don't do it nearly enough, in my opinion. I've always been a fan of double pedal, even though I'm not a really good double pedal drummer myself. There's like some woe goes in the bridge back into the verse. Then it goes back into another woe bridge. The interesting piece about this is it's not always the same. Like I know my description sounds like, oh, there's just a lot of woes and everything is the same thing, but there's really a lot of different layering to it. Some are chants, some have a different pattern to it. So it really keeps the dynamic interesting. There's like a fake out sort of, like it's supposed to get slower, like a build out, I guess. But it goes into like a woe laden breakdown. So it's really interesting because if I were at a show listening to this, I wouldn't be sure if I'm gonna like go and do the woes with them, or if I'm gonna go get fucking buck in the mosh pit. I think I might get Buck in the mosh pit if I ever see this song live. It's just super fucking heavy. Not heavy in like a um, I'm gonna punch you in the face sort of way, but just really like bouncy and fun. Another cool addition to this is it has the Halloween theme on guitar at the end, and you can totally hear where where the album will go by listening to this song. And there's a lot of different elements placed into it: hardcore, punk, metal. Like there's a lot of different elements in it. The third song. The third song is the campiest song on the album, and it's fucking hilarious. It's called Xenomorphuck. Awesome name. It's again really aggressive in your face with a melody, some woe bridges. There's like filters over some of the vocals on the verses, and there's a lot of campiness and silliness in the chorus. The song is about alien xenomorphs, and it's a love song. You can dance to it if you want to. It says, "I want to penetrate your skull with a kiss," but it says it in like the sweetest sort of like really melodic way, talking about having acid in your heart, and it's legitimate about aliens, but it's like a love song, so it's super super campy and really well done. There's some cool like well layered backups on certain lines to emphasize on the third verse, which I think is really cool. I mean, if you guys watch my videos, you know I'm all about dynamics. So like the same thing all the way through, that can be kind of boring. Not that it always ends up being that way, but I really appreciate when different pieces are added to emphasize on, even on verses. It's, not typically that common to change up things on a second verse that isn't on like the third verse or the fourth verse or the first verse, or whatever. So really doing that is cool. There's like some goes in the end bridge that has like another long fill on the drums to build back into the chorus, and then it ends on like differently melodied woes at the end. Purple Bride is their more. If you guys listen to Horrorscopes' first album, Batkin, there was some like Latin flair in Witch Slap, which happened to be the best song on the album in my opinion. Purple Bride kind of continues with that flair. I mean, the band is from Mexico, so throwing in that Latin flair to it is really cool. It has that in the opening riff a little bit. Some of the vocals, there's like a bigger change, I think, on the vocals for this song compared to other songs where he has more of like a monotonous, like gothy style in the vocals on the verses, which adds more dynamic to the change ups on the vocals, because it goes from that to like some more aggressive pieces, to another like melodic part. Once you hear it, you'll understand what I'm talking about, but there's like 3 different styles going on in this song vocally. There is some bounce to the percussion on it, like the drummer does a really good job of adding that bounce in these things, like for breakdowns, for the Latin section. It really keeps that groove to it, which I really appreciate. There's sort of this like unexpected melodic vocal section that goes back into the Latin piece, and it has this like really cool like "it's alive, it's alive, it's alive," because the song is about the bride. And again, it keeps that bounce until the end sort of build out. Taking the second to appreciate the drummer, man. Holy shit! Like, he knows what he's doing. He's really keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting, and being real on point with his chops and with his fucking grooves. Beware the Moon was the second single for this album. This one kind of starts with more like spooky melodic keyboards. Again, another woe-laden verse, which is cool on this one because it's between the main vocals. So it'll have like, main yell, woes, main yell, whoa, and then it kind of ends out for the final section of the verse. The main piece of the chorus is "Beware of the moon," and has like a "Are you ready?" like kind of piece there, which is really cool. Adds a cool dynamic to that. I believe this song is about werewolves, if I'm not mistaken. There's like another theremin section in the bridge. I think the breakdown on this one is actually really heavy. Not that the other ones aren't, but I think this one particularly stuck in my head as a heavy one, at least noted in my notes. And it goes back into the fast part, builds out, and it has some like growls behind the main vocals. So it says, "Everyone is going to die," and it has this like real heavy, almost deathcore vocal in the background, which is really cool. And there's a piece at the very end, in the end section, that Marco adds in like maybe a few more syllables than typical, I guess, but he fits it in with the pattern because it's a kind of a weird, fill pattern in there, but he like dun 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 dun, like he like adds it in there at the same time, and it's a really cool thing if you pay attention to it that you'll notice. It has like this cool bounce piece to it, and it follows that pattern. It's really well executed. The next song is Knee, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, Jonan Vasquez's first comic book. For those of you who don't know, Jonan Vasquez did Invader Zim. So this one has like, real fast hardcore influence on it. What's cool is that it is the more, I guess, traditionally aggressive sounding song in the hardcore sense, I guess. But there's still some woes to break up the, again, potentially tiresome basicness of hardcore, just yells, the first time I listened to this, the first time I listened to this album, I was at the gym, and right when this song was going on, I was listening to it, I was getting into it, and I was like, there's going to be a breakdown here. And it has like this build up into it, and there's like a cool breakdown going on, and then it goes, builds back back into the fast part, and it ends with some just straight hardcore yells with no vocals, with no music. And I think that's a really nice touch to have that change in dynamic there to kind of trail out the vocals. Children of the Night is the 7th song. It's like a thrashy D-beat track. There's some double pedal work in there. Again, woe-laden, fast horror punk about Lost Boys. There's like more filter stuff on the vocals, which is really cool to have some interesting dynamic shifts over the bridge. And then it goes back into like a woe chorus. There is a chant with a few different vocals on it, so I don't know if it was a band chant or Marco just doing multiple, layers. It's not huge like a Goolsby chant or anything, because a lot of Goolsby Blitz or older Blitz Kid stuff has like a real big chant over it. It's not like that, but it's still a cool chant piece that says "We are the lost." Then there's some solos over the instrumental, goes back into a chant, and ends on a breakdown. The final track, definitely a doozy. It has this like evil, almost black metal, like blackened metal riff as the intro. Fast tempo punk drums, which is an interesting dynamic for the slower guitar stuff on it. I mean, it's not. It just it makes it sound different. It's not like real aggressive guitar over the fast drums. It's like, a little bit more slow, um, bigger guitar stuff, I guess. That's at least the way I would hear it. The singing on this song particularly are very powerful and very melodic. There's a line that's really well done and done dynamically. Like the first section says, "I finally opened my eyes." Um, I finally opened my eyes. And then the second piece of that does it again in a higher octave and goes, I finally opened my eyes to see, like however he does it, but it's like, oh my God, like it's so fucking cool. That change in octave and, throwing in the, I don't know. I'm not a vocalist, so I don't know what it would be called. But that change up, the emotionality in it is very palpable for me. Like there's a lot of emotion going through this song, and it just continues through a build up in the bridge with some woes, and there's more like metal-esque guitar stuff. It's not solos exactly, but it's definitely has some like dueling guitar note type stuff going on a little bit. Maybe not exactly like that, like I'm making it sound, but it's not a solo is my point. It's still metal guitar riffs, but it's not like soloing. There's like an instrumental bridge with some more faint vocals on it, and then at the very end it's continuing, and there's a lot of layers of vocals, and there's like some aggressive stuff going in it too. Just a really well crafted ending song, and I'm hoping. So here's what I'm hoping. Part of me is like, they're gonna do this more often in their next album or next EP, where it's going to be very dynamic. It's almost theatrical on this song. And part of me is very okay with that. I mean, if that's the direction they go, then fuck yeah, I'm cool with it. But the other part of me is like, well, this album in total, like the totality of this album, would be phenomenal for them to continue with. My overview is that it's a very dynamic horror punk album. Like I said, there are woes aplenty, almost on every track and done differently throughout every track. While AFI continues to be a driving influence in their stuff, I feel like this sophomore album shows plenty of different styles that they draw from. I was just looking at their Bandcamp, and on their bio, it does say that they've come from different metal and metalcore and hardcore bands, and they're trying to influence that into early Misfits and AFI sound. And they're succeeding, man. They're fucking doing it. I really do think that they've created a classic horror punk album here, like a modern classic. And as a band, they really deserve more recognition for their abilities to continue meshing melody, aggression, and overall interesting shit into their music. Because I think it's really easy to do a punk album. It's really easy to do, something aggressive and hardcore, but it's not that easy to continue to make interesting shit. And, with that, I guess I'm just going to say fucking listen to Horrorscopes. Beware of the Moon album out tomorrow on Halloween, 2019. And, please leave a comment. Please leave a like. Please share this video. When you hear it, which I, again, really, truly recommend you listen to it. What are your thoughts on it? It's definitely going to end up on my top albums of the year. I cannot give it enough fucking praise. So with that, I will leave a link to their Bandcamp below so that you can check it out tomorrow in the morning. Fucking do your shit. get on it. And as always, I fucking appreciate all you watching. And I'm Rick Retreat, and this has been the Pumpkin Patch.